Step right up, history buffs and ghost hunters. Today, we're journeying into the heart of London, to a place where history isn't just written in books, it's etched into the very stones. We're talking about the Tower of London, a fortress, a palace, and a prison that has stood for nearly 1,000 years. But it's not the crown jewels we're here to see. We're peeling back the layers of time to uncover the dark, chilling tales and the ghostly legends that haunt its ancient walls. From royal intrigue to gruesome executions, the tower has seen it all. Are you ready to meet the spirits that are said to still roam its corridors? Let's begin our descent into one of the most haunted places on Earth. Built by William the Conqueror way back in 1078, the White Tower was just the beginning. Over the centuries, the complex grew, becoming a symbol of royal power. But with power comes conflict, and the tower soon earned a more sinister reputation. It became the ultimate state prison, a place where enemies of the crown were sent to be interrogated, tortured, and often, to meet their end. Think of it. For hundreds of years, this was the final stop for nobles, priests, and even queens who fell from grace. The very air here seems thick with the echoes of their final moments, their pleas, their defiance. Every stone could tell a story of betrayal, ambition, and despair. Let us start with one of the most infamous and tragic tales, the princes in the tower. Imagine this. It's 1483. King Edward IV has just died, leaving his two young sons, 12-year-old Edward V and his 9-year-old brother Richard, in the care of their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. The boys were brought to the tower, supposedly for their own protection, while awaiting Edward's coronation. They were seen playing in the gardens, but then they vanished. Just like that. Their uncle was crowned King Richard III, and the princes were never seen alive again. The dominant theory: he had them murdered to secure his claim to the throne. Almost 200 years later, workmen discovered a wooden chest containing the skeletons of two small children buried beneath a staircase in the White Tower. Were these the lost princes? Many believe so. To this day, visitors report seeing the ghostly figures of two small boys in white nightgowns, holding hands and looking terrified, often near the bloody tower. Sometimes, the faint sounds of children playing or weeping are heard, a heartbreaking reminder of the young lives cut short within these walls. Now, let's talk about perhaps the most famous ghost of the tower, Queen Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. Anne's story is a whirlwind of passion, power, and tragedy. When she failed to produce a male heir, Henry, already infatuated with Jane Seymour, accused her of treason, adultery, and even witchcraft. The charges were almost certainly fabricated. On May 19, 1536, she was brought to Tower Green, a more private execution spot for nobles, and beheaded with a single stroke of a French swordsman's blade. But it seems it never truly left. Her spirit is one of the most active in the tower. She's most often seen on the anniversary of her execution, leading a ghostly procession of lords and ladies down the aisle of the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, where her body is buried. Sometimes she appears as a beautiful, radiant figure, and other times, as a headless specter, clutching her severed head under her arm. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from a 19th century guard who saw a faint light in the chapel. Peering inside, he witnessed a procession of figures in Tudor-era clothing, led by a woman resembling Anne Boleyn, march up the aisle and then vanish. The shock was so great, the guard fainted and was nearly court-martialed for sleeping on duty until other witnesses came forward to corroborate his chilling story. But Anne isn't the only queen said to haunt these grounds. Let's move to the Queen's house, where another of Henry VIII's wives met a tragic end. This was Catherine Howard, his fifth wife, a young and vivacious girl accused of adultery. When she was arrested and told she would be executed, she broke free from her guards and ran down the hallway, screaming for the king, begging for mercy. She was caught just before reaching the chapel where Henry was praying. She was executed on Tower Green shortly after. Today, her terrified spirit is said to recreate that final, desperate run. Staff and visitors have reported hearing frantic, blood-curdling screams echoing through what is now called the Haunted Gallery, followed by the sight of a ghostly figure in white rushing past before disappearing through the wall. It's a chilling replay of a young queen's last moments of terror. The tower's grim history isn't limited to royals. Let's talk about Sir Walter Raleigh, a famed explorer, poet, and courtier to Queen Elizabeth I. Raleigh spent a total of 13 years imprisoned in the Bloody Tower. It wasn't all bad. He was allowed to live there with his family and even had a small laboratory, but his end was grim. He was eventually executed in 1618. His ghost is said to linger in the Bloody Tower, pacing back and forth in his old rooms. Visitors have reported seeing his apparition standing by the window, gazing out towards the River Thames, perhaps longing for the freedom and the sea he once knew so well. And we can't forget the story of the Countess of Salisbury, Margaret Pole. At the age of 70, she was sentenced to death by Henry VIII, largely due to her family's royal bloodline posing a threat. On the day of her execution, she refused to lay her head on the block, declaring, "So should traitors do, and I am none." She ran from the executioner, who, in a horrifying display of incompetence, chased her around the scaffold, hacking at her with his axe until she finally fell. It was a brutal, undignified death. Her ghost is said to reenact this horrific scene on the anniversary of her execution on Tower Green. Witnesses have reported hearing her screams and seeing the spectral replay of her gruesome end, a truly terrifying sight. The hauntings aren't confined to the main towers either. The Salt Tower is known for a different kind of paranormal activity. For centuries, people have reported the scent of cheap perfume lingering in the air. This is often attributed to a mysterious lady in white who is sometimes seen standing on the battlements, waving to groups of children on the ground below, before vanishing. No one knows who she was, but the persistence of her perfume has puzzled many. And what about the guards themselves? The yeoman warders, who live within the tower's walls, have countless stories. One warder reported being woken in the middle of the night by a feeling of being crushed, only to see a huge, dark shadow in the shape of a bear looming over his bed before it vanished. This is believed to be the ghost of a grizzly bear that was once part of the royal menagerie kept at the tower in the 13th century. Imagine waking up to that. From the heartbroken whispers of the lost princes to the defiant spirit of a countess and the tormented screams of a young queen. The Tower of London is a living monument to its own dark past. These aren't just spooky stories. They are the echoes of real human tragedy, preserved in stone and spirit. For 1,000 years, this fortress has been a silent witness to some of the most dramatic and brutal moments in English history. And it seems that for some of its most famous residents, their sentence at the tower is eternal. The next time you see a picture of this iconic landmark, remember that behind the stone walls and crown jewels, there's a much darker, more mysterious world waiting to be explored. A world where the past is very much present. Thanks for joining me on this ghostly tour of the Tower of London. It's a place where every shadow could hold a secret, and every cold spot could be a visitor from another time. What do you think? Are these just stories, or are the spirits of history truly trapped within these ancient walls? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the supernatural, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious. The Tower of London, a fortress of power, a prison of despair, and for nearly 1,000 years, a place where history has been written in blood. But what if that history never truly ended? What if the echoes of the past still linger, waiting for the cover of darkness to reveal themselves? Tonight, we journey into the heart of one of the world's most haunted landmarks. As the sun sets and the last of the daily crowds depart, a different kind of life awakens within these ancient walls. The stone corridors, once bustling, grow dark and silent. It's in this profound quiet that the stories begin. Reports from guards and late-night staff tell of figures clad in medieval armor, standing silent vigil. But the most chilling accounts are of apparitions without heads. Specters of those who met their grisly end on the executioner's block, seen wandering the very grounds where they took their final breath. The sightings grow more frequent, more vivid, as the night deepens, as if the darkness itself gives them strength. But what you can't see is often more terrifying than what you can. Imagine walking down a deserted passageway, the only sound the echo of your own footsteps on the cold stone. Suddenly, another sound joins yours, the slow, rhythmic scrape of dragging chains, seemingly coming from just around the corner. Yet when you look, there's nothing there. Visitors have reported this phantom sound for centuries. Even more unsettling are the physical sensations. A sudden, intense cold spot in an otherwise temperate room, the feeling of an icy breath on the back of your neck, and the most disturbing of all, the distinct sensation of invisible hands touching a shoulder, a wrist, or an arm, a spectral touch that sends a shock of pure fear through your entire body. For the yeoman warders, the iconic guardians of the tower, these experiences are an occupational hazard. Many have stories they are reluctant to share, tales of long, lonely nights on patrol. They speak of catching movement out of the corner of their aja, fleeting shadow darting across a hallway, or a dark figure standing momentarily in a doorway. Yet, the moment they turn their heads or shine a flashlight, the figure is gone, vanished into thin air. It's a constant, unnerving game of cat and mouse, with an unseen presence. A presence that seems to observe them from the shadows, always just beyond the reach of light and logic. These are not just fleeting glimpses. They are consistent, shared experiences among those who know the tower's secrets best. Paranormal investigators have flocked to the tower for decades, armed with the latest technology to capture proof of the afterlife. And the fortress does not disappoint. Their equipment often behaves erratically, batteries draining in an instant, cameras malfunctioning without reason, and audio recorders capturing sounds that were not audible to the human ear at the time. When they play back the recordings from these empty, silent rooms, they are often met with chilling results. Faint, disembodied whispers seem to answer their questions. The mournful cries of a woman echo from a room where no one has been. These electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, provide some of the most compelling evidence that something, or someone, is trying to communicate from beyond the veil. The sheer weight of history here is suffocating. For centuries, these walls have absorbed the pain, fear, and sorrow of countless souls. Kings and queens, traitors and martyrs, many entered the tower, but never left. Is it any wonder that their stories refuse to be silenced? From the desperate pleas of prisoners in the dungeons, to the final, terrified moments on Tower Green, every stone seems saturated with trauma. Perhaps it's not just a memory. Perhaps some of those who were imprisoned and executed here remain, their spirits bound to the site of their suffering. They are the eternal prisoners of the Tower of London, their ghostly forms and sorrowful whispers a permanent, chilling reminder that the past is never truly gone. It's here, walking these corridors right alongside us. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows, Be sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the world's most haunted places. Deep in France's picturesque Loire Valley stands the magnificent Château de Brissac, the tallest castle in the country. Its 7 floors, 200 rooms, and opulent decor speak of centuries of nobility and grandeur. But beneath its beautiful exterior lies a story so dark, so chilling, that it has earned the castle the title of France's most haunted. This is the story of the Green Lady, a ghost whose tragic tale keeps her tethered to the world of the living. Our story begins in the 15th century. The castle was home to Jacques de Biarzy, a nobleman married to the beautiful Charlotte de Valois. Charlotte was the illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII and his mistress, Agnes Sorel. Their marriage was one of political convenience, not love. Jacques was known for his love of hunting, often leaving Charlotte alone in the vast, empty castle. During these long absences, Charlotte found comfort in the arms of another man, Pierre de Laverney, one of her husband's huntsmen. Their affair was passionate but reckless, carried on right under Jacques' roof. One fateful night, a servant, perhaps out of loyalty or fear, alerted Jacques to his wife's infidelity. Enraged, Jacques stormed back to the castle. He followed the sounds of his wife and her lover to their chamber. What happened next is a blur of historical accounts and whispered legends. The most widely accepted version is that Jacques, in a fit of jealous rage, murdered both Charlotte and Pierre on the spot. Some say he used his hunting sword, ending their lives in a brutal, violent act of betrayal. The love that had brought them together became the very thing that sealed their doom. But death was not the end for Charlotte. Her spirit, consumed by sorrow and perhaps a thirst for vengeance, refused to leave the castle. Soon after her murder, strange things began to happen. Servants and even Jacques himself reported hearing mournful cries echoing through the halls. The sounds were so distressing that Jacques de Biarzy eventually abandoned the castle, unable to live with the ghostly reminders of his crime. The spirit became known as La Dame Verte, or the Green Lady, named for the green dress she was said to be wearing on the night of her death. For centuries, the legend of the Green Lady has grown. She is said to wander the castle's halls, a silent, sorrowful figure. Her favorite haunt is the tower room of the chapel, the very place where she was murdered. Visitors and residents alike have reported seeing her. She is often described as a tall, ethereal figure in a flowing green gown, gliding silently across the floor. But it's her face that terrifies those who see it. Where her eyes and nose should be, there are only dark, gaping holes, a ghastly reminder of her violent end. Her face is pale, expressionless, yet filled with an immeasurable sadness. Her presence isn't just visual. Many who stay at the castle report a chilling drop in temperature, a sudden cold that seems to emanate from nowhere. The air grows heavy, and a sense of profound grief washes over them. Then come the sounds. Faint moans and whispers are heard in empty rooms, especially at night. Some have described it as the sound of a woman weeping, her cries carrying on the wind through the castle's corridors. Doors are known to open and close on their own, sometimes slamming shut with a violent bang, other times creaking open slowly, as if pushed by an unseen hand. The current owners of the castle, the Duke of Brissac and his family, have lived with the Green Lady for generations. They've grown accustomed to their spectral guest. In fact, they say she is a regular feature of their lives. The Duchess of Brissac has mentioned waking up in the morning to find the Green Lady standing by her bed, just watching. While they've learned to coexist with her, their guests are often not so calm. One visitor reported hearing footsteps following them down the West Tower. They were completely alone. When they spun around, there was nothing there, but they felt an icy cold hand brush past their shoulder, a phantom touch that sent shivers down their spine. paranormal investigators have flocked to Chateau de Brissac, drawn by its chilling reputation. Many have captured evidence they believe proves the haunting. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, have recorded faint whispers and moans that were not audible to the human ear at the time. Photographs have revealed strange orbs of green light hovering near windows or in the chapel. One of the most common experiences is seeing fleeting shadows in mirrors or at the end of long hallways. Dark shapes that disappear the moment you try to focus on them. Some accounts are even more unsettling. There are stories of people who have dared to mock or disrespect the legend of the Green Lady. These individuals have reportedly experienced strange and unfortunate accidents shortly after unexplained falls, sudden illnesses, or even a feeling of being physically pushed by an unseen force. It seems Charlotte's spirit, while often sorrowful and passive, does not take kindly to being challenged. But is the Green Lady the only spirit within these ancient walls? Some believe the castle is home to other, less famous entities. Guests have reported hearing screams from empty rooms, a stark contrast to the mournful cries of Charlotte. A feeling of being watched is common, a pressing heaviness that makes it hard to breathe. Sudden nausea and dizziness have overcome people in certain parts of the castle, particularly near the dark, narrow staircases and hidden passageways that wind through the structure. Researchers suggest that the stone walls of the castle may hold what they call residual energy. The theory is that strong emotions, especially those from violent or tragic events, can be imprinted onto a location. The murder of Charlotte and Pierre was an act of extreme passion and violence. The betrayal, the fear, the rage, all of that emotional energy could be trapped within the castle, replaying itself over and over like a ghostly recording. The castle's very architecture, with its tall, echoing halls and shadowy towers, seems perfectly designed to amplify this feeling of dread and the fear of the unknown. Chateau de Brissac is more than just a historical monument. It's a place where the veil between the living and the dead is incredibly thin. It's a living museum of history, murder, and tragedy, where the spirits of the past are not at rest. The Green Lady continues her eternal, lonely vigil, a silent witness to the centuries that pass her by. She wanders the halls where she once lived, loved, and died, a permanent resident of her own beautiful, haunted prison. So if you ever find yourself walking the grand corridors of Chateau de Brissac and feel a sudden chill, or hear a faint, sorrowful moan on the wind, know that you might not be alone. You might just be in the presence of the Green Lady, a ghost who has been waiting for centuries, forever bound to the place where her life was so brutally cut short. And as you look into a mirror, be careful. The reflection staring back might not be your own. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the haunted history of Chateau de Brissac. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales from the world's most haunted places. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to stand inside Australia's most haunted house? Welcome to Monte Cristo Homestead, a place where history and horror are woven into the very fabric of its walls. This isn't just a story. For many who have walked these halls, it's a terrifying reality. From the moment you step onto the property, you can feel it, a heavy, oppressive energy that whispers of a dark and tragic past. Guests and paranormal investigators alike leave with stories that will chill you to the bone. Disembodied screams echoing through empty corridors, shadowy figures that appear and vanish in the blink of an eye, and doors that slam shut with no wind, no warning, and no explanation. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes are following their every move. They describe objects moving on their own, sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature that leave your breath hanging in the air, and even the feeling of invisible hands gripping their shoulders. So, what happened here? What dark secrets does Monte Cristo hold that keep its former residents bound to this world? Join us as we unlock the doors and venture deep into the heart of this infamous homestead. But be warned, once you know the stories, you might never look at an old house the same way again. Monte Cristo Homestead was built back in the late 1800s, an elegant Victorian manor that was supposed to be a dream home for Christopher and Elizabeth Crawley. They raised their family here, but their dreams soon turned into a nightmare. Tragedy became a frequent, unwelcome visitor. The stories are truly heartbreaking. One of the first was a young stable boy who was tragically burned alive in his sleep. His screams are still said to echo from the stables on quiet nights. Then there was the Crawleys' own infant daughter, who is said to have been dropped down the main staircase by a nanny. Some say the nanny was pushed by an unseen force, while others believe it was a terrible, tragic accident. Either way, the little girl's life was cut short, and her spirit is thought to still wander the upper floors. You can almost imagine her tiny footsteps on the creaking floorboards. The tragedies didn't stop there. A maid, pregnant and distraught, is said to have thrown herself from the balcony. Her fall is sometimes replayed for visitors, a fleeting shadow seen from the corner of the eye. Another caretaker was shot and killed on the property, his presence still lingering near the cottage where he lived. Over the decades, a series of mysterious illnesses and untimely deaths plagued the household staff, each one adding another layer to the property's dark energy. It's as if the house itself absorbed the grief, the pain, and the fear of all who suffered within its walls, creating a powerful vortex of paranormal activity. It's one thing to hear about these tragedies, but it's another thing entirely to experience the lingering effects. The house itself seems designed to play on your deepest fears. As you walk through, you'll notice the long, narrow hallways that stretch into darkness, the grand staircase where the child fell, and the eerie, unsettling silence that hangs in every room. The floors creak underfoot, not just from age, but as if someone is walking right alongside you. During the day, Monte Cristo is a fascinating historical landmark. But when the sun goes down, it transforms. It becomes a labyrinth of shadows, where every corner holds a potential fright, and every noise makes your heart race. You start to question everything. Was that just the wind? Or did that door just creak open on its own? Modern-day visitors and paranormal investigators have documented a staggering amount of activity here. People on ghost tours frequently hear blood-curdling screams and desperate crying coming from rooms that are completely empty. They'll rush to the source, only to find absolute stillness. Imagine standing in a hallway, hearing a child sob from the bedroom ahead, and then opening the door to find nothing but dust and silence. It's an experience that leaves even the most hardened skeptics shaken. Then there are the shadow figures. These are one of the most common sightings at Monte Cristo. People see dark, human-shaped silhouettes standing in doorways or lurking at the end of long corridors. They appear solid for just a moment, a stark black figure against the dim light. But when you try to get a closer look, they dissolve into thin air. Many believe these are the restless spirits of the past, forever trapped in a loop, replaying their final moments. The physical interactions are perhaps the most terrifying. Doors don't just creak, they slam shut with incredible force. Chairs have been seen rocking back and forth in empty rooms. Personal belongings like keys and phones will inexplicably move from where they were placed. But it gets more personal than that. Some guests report feeling a cold, firm grip on their shoulder or arm. Others have described a terrifying sensation of being choked, as if invisible hands are wrapped around their neck. These experiences are often accompanied by a sudden feeling of dread and an urgent need to get out of the house. Professional paranormal teams have brought in all sorts of equipment to try and explain what's going on. They consistently record extremely high levels of electromagnetic field activity, or EMF, in the most active areas of the house. These are the same spots where people report feeling watched or touched. They've also documented significant temperature fluctuations, with rooms suddenly dropping by 10 or even 20 degrees in a matter of seconds. A classic sign of a spiritual presence drawing energy from its surroundings. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, have captured disembodied voices, whispering names, warnings, and pleas for help. One of the most active spirits is believed to be Mrs. Crawley herself. After her husband died, she became a recluse, rarely leaving her room for over 2 decades. It's said she still rules the house with an iron fist from the afterlife. She reportedly dislikes people who disrespect her home, and many of the strange occurrences are attributed to her displeasure. Visitors who mock the spirits or doubt the stories often find themselves the target of the most intense activity. They might feel a sudden push, or hear a stern voice telling them to get out. Another prominent figure is the stable boy. People visiting the stables often report feeling an intense heat or smelling smoke, even on a cold day. His agonizing screams are sometimes caught on audio recorders, a chilling reminder of his horrific death. In the main house, the spirit of the young girl on the stairs is often felt. Children visiting the homestead sometimes say they've been playing with a little girl nobody else can see, or they'll be drawn to the top of the staircase, feeling a strange, sad energy there. So, is Monte Cristo homestead truly haunted? With a history steeped in so much tragedy and a constant stream of credible paranormal reports, it's hard to deny that something profound is happening within its walls, whether it's the residual energy of past traumas or the conscious spirits of those who died there. The house holds a powerful, undeniable presence. It serves as a stark reminder that some places are forever marked by the past, and the stories of those who lived and died there continue to echo through time, waiting for anyone brave enough to listen. Would you be willing to spend a night at Monte Cristo? To walk the same halls where so many have met a tragic end? To listen for the whispers in the dark and wait for a sign from the other side? It's just an experience that promises to test your courage and challenge your beliefs about the world beyond our own. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Australia's most haunted house. If you enjoyed this dive into the paranormal, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more spooky stories and explorations of the unknown. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a paranormal experience of your own. Stay curious, and see you next time. Some castles were built for royalty, others became prisons for souls that never escaped, and inside Denmark's Dragsham Castle, some prisoners may still be walking the halls. If you're planning a visit, be warned. What you experience inside these ancient walls might follow you home. By day, Dragsham Castle is a picture of serenity, standing proudly in the quiet Danish countryside. Its brilliant white walls, elegant grounds, and sprawling green landscapes seem to whisper tales of nobility and grandeur. It looks like something from a storybook, but as the sun sets and long dark shadows stretch across the grounds, the atmosphere transforms. A different story begins to unfold. Guests who stay overnight often report a sense of unease that settles in almost immediately after dark. The sprawling hallways suddenly feel colder than they should. Ancient floorboards creak and groan under an unseen weight. Doors that were firmly shut are found slightly ajar. More than a few visitors have woken up in the middle of the night with the chilling certainty that someone is standing right beside their bed. But when they open their eyes and look, there's no one there. For centuries, locals have whispered that Dragsham isn't just a historic landmark. It's a place inhabited by those who never truly left. The beautiful facade of the day hides a much darker, more restless reality that comes alive at night. The castle's dark history began long before it became the luxury hotel it is today. Originally constructed in the 13th century as a fortified palace, its role took a grim turn in the 16th and 17th centuries when it was converted into a state prison. This wasn't a prison for common criminals. It was reserved for nobles, clergy, and political enemies of the crown. The conditions were notoriously harsh. Prisoners were locked away in dark, cold, and isolated cells, sometimes for decades. Many were subjected to unimaginable suffering, spending their final years in complete darkness, with some reportedly losing their sanity long before they lost their lives. Historical records paint a bleak picture of this era. Some prisoners were allegedly kept in hidden chambers, small pockets of stone concealed within the castle's thick walls, left to be forgotten. The most famous of these prisoners was James Hepburn, the 4th Earl of Bothwell, the 3rd husband of Mary, Queen of Scots. He was imprisoned here and died after a decade of confinement, his mind allegedly broken by the isolation. Centuries later, during extensive renovations in the early 20th century, workers made a horrifying discovery. While breaking through a section of a thick stone wall, they found a small, hidden cavity. Inside was a human skeleton, still clad in the remnants of a white dress. Legend holds that these are the remains of Selina Bovels, the daughter of a nobleman who fell in love with a commoner working at the castle. Her father, enraged by the forbidden romance, had her walled up alive on her wedding day. Since the discovery of the White Lady's remains, paranormal activity in and around that area of the castle has increased dramatically. Staff members are hesitant to assign guests to the nearby rooms, as many who stay there report intense nightmares, sudden and extreme drops in temperature, or the distinct sound of knocking coming from inside the walls in the dead of night. Some guests have even checked out early, vowing never to return. The castle's stones don't just hold history, they hold secrets, and it seems, the very souls of those who suffered within them. It's no surprise that Dragsham Castle is frequently cited as one of the most haunted locations in all of Europe. The reports are not isolated incidents. They are a constant, consistent stream of experiences shared by guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike. The sheer volume and similarity of these accounts are what make the castle's reputation so chillingly persistent. Among the most common reports are the disembodied sounds that echo through the building. Phantom footsteps are often heard, pacing down empty corridors, their source never found. The heavy wooden doors, some of which have been in place for centuries, are known to slowly creak open or slam shut on their own, even on still, windless nights. Faint whispers are reported near guest rooms, sounding like hushed conversations just beyond the door, but when checked, the hallway is always empty. Sudden, inexplicable cold spots are another hallmark of Dragsham's paranormal activity. Guests will be walking through a comfortably warm room, only to pass through a pocket of intense, bone-chilling cold that vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Many believe these cold spots signify the presence of a spirit. Hotel staff have their own stories. There are numerous accounts of employees seeing figures in period clothing walking the halls late at night. Assuming they are guests in costume for an event, the staff will turn to speak to them, only to find the figure has vanished into thin air, disappearing around a corner into a dead end. Even modern technology seems to capture the unexplainable. Security cameras have, on occasion, recorded strange shadows and light anomalies moving through locked areas where no person could possibly be. Perhaps most terrifying are the personal experiences reported by those who stay the night. Several guests have recounted waking up with the horrifying sensation of sleep paralysis, unable to move or scream, while being convinced that a dark figure was watching them from the corner of the room. Others have felt the distinct sensation of their blankets being pulled off them by an unseen force. The three most prominent spirits are said to be the White Lady, the Grey Lady, a former servant who still wanders the castle, checking on things, and the Earl of Bothwell, whose ghost is sometimes heard riding his horse and carriage in the courtyard. With each passing year, the legends of Dragsham Castle only grow stronger, fed by new stories from those brave enough to spend a night within its walls. Many paranormal experts who have investigated the site believe that the activity is not just residual energy, but intelligent haunting spirits, actively aware of the living. And many believe that what has been experienced so far is only the beginning. The souls of Dragsham have stories to tell, and they seem determined to make their presence known. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales from the world's most haunted places. Dragsham is famous for three primary ghost legends, all reportedly still active today. Witness accounts describe a grey-clad woman silently walking corridors at night, a ghostly nobleman seen near prison areas, a phantom carriage arriving outside the castle grounds. Guests often report hearing footsteps approaching their doors, only to find empty hallways. Some claim their beds shook slightly during the night, or blankets were pulled without explanation. One visitor reported waking to see a pale figure at the end of the bed, before it slowly vanished. Paranormal investigators frequently record unexplained noises, distant voices, and sudden temperature drops. Cameras sometimes malfunction in specific rooms, draining batteries unusually fast. Even skeptical visitors admit the castle feels unsettling after dark. Historians say centuries of imprisonment, betrayal, and death created stories passed down through generations. Locals warn visitors not to mock or challenge the spirits, claiming those who disrespect the castle often experience misfortune afterward. Even hotel employees quietly admit certain rooms remain avoided when possible. Guests continue reporting strange experiences every year. Perhaps time never truly moved on here. Perhaps some prisoners never escaped, and maybe Dragsham Castle still remembers those who suffered within its walls.